I never wanted this.
The choice was always yours.
Marriage is like drywall. Looks fine until the mold shows and you need a gut job. I'm Logan Hayes, 38, patching other people's walls while my own house crumbled. The signs were clear when Serena, my wife, began working late. 3 nights a week, then 4, until she practically lived at Caraway Marketing. "Logan, you wouldn't understand the pressure. Victor expects excellence," she'd say, eyes on her phone while I made dinner for our 15-year-old son, Max. Victor Caraway, 51 BMW driver, and, though I didn't know yet, my wife's lover for the past year. I kept playing loyal husband, ignoring the lingerie that never appeared in our bedroom. Max saw it before I did. "Dad, why does Mom smell like cologne she didn't put on this morning?" Out of the mouths of babes. The first crack came one March Tuesday. Fixing the sink, I saw Serena's phone light up. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. V." Another followed. "Tell Logan you're working late Friday." I booked our usual room at the Meridian. I snapped photos. Evidence first. My dad had taught me that. When Serena came down in a black dress, flawless and glowing, I asked, "Working late again?" "Victor's client presentation. Don't wait up." "Wouldn't dream of it." She left. I stared at the photos, 20 years of marriage balanced against betrayal. That night, I called Tyrone, my oldest friend, a retired cop. He sensed something was wrong. Later, I searched Serena's dresser, found expensive lingerie, tags still on. Not for me. Sitting on the bed holding a red lace bra, I felt not anger, but the death of illusion. Max knocked. "She's not really working late, is she?" "Nobody. I don't think she is." "What are you going to do?" This time I wouldn't confront blindly. "I'll think about it. Be smart." He smiled, relieved. "Good. Mom always said you were too nice for your own good." That night after Max went to bed, I sat in my workshop in the garage and made a list. Victor Caraway, CEO of Caraway Marketing Solutions, married to Patricia Caraway. Daughter Jessica, 22, senior at State University. Big house in Riverside Heights, member of the country club. Drives the BMW and a Mercedes SUV for Patricia. Serena Hayes, senior marketing coordinator, worked her way up from assistant over 8 years. 46 years old to Victor's 51. Still married to the contractor who'd put her through night school and supported her career ambitions, even when it meant eating mac and cheese for dinner 3 nights a week. I pulled up Caraway Marketing's website and scrolled through the staff photos. There was Serena, professional smile, hairstyled, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. And there was Victor, silver-haired and confident, the kind of man who'd never had to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. Under Victor's bio, it mentioned the annual company gala, a charity fundraiser held every March at the Meridian Hotel. Black tie optional, spouses welcome. I'd never been invited. I picked up my phone and called the Meridian. "Good evening, Meridian Hotel. How can I help you?" "Hi, I'm calling about the Caraway Marketing Gala this Friday. I'm Logan Hayes, Serena Hayes' husband. She's on the planning committee, but I seem to have misplaced my invitation details." "Let me check our list. Yes, Mr. Hayes, you're down for 2 seats at table 12. The event starts at 7 p.m. in the grand ballroom. Black tie optional? Perfect. Thank you." I hung up and smiled for the first time in weeks. Serena thought she was so smart, keeping her work life and her affair separate from home. But she'd made one mistake. She'd put me on the guest list. Friday night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror adjusting the tie I'd worn to my father's funeral. The black suit was 10 years old, but still fit, and I'd gotten a haircut that afternoon. Max had helped me pick out a new shirt. "You clean up nice, old man," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "Thanks. You sure you're okay staying at Tyler's tonight?" "Dad, I'm 15, not 5. Besides, Tyler's got the new Call of Duty." I'd told Max I was going to Mom's work party, which was technically true. I just hadn't mentioned that Mom didn't know I was coming. The Meridian Hotel downtown was everything I'd expected. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and valet parking that cost more than most people's hourly wage. I handed over my truck keys to a kid in a red vest who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The grand ballroom was packed with Caraway Marketing's finest. 200 people in designer clothes, drinking champagne that probably cost $50 a glass, making small talk about quarterly projections and market penetration. I spotted Serena immediately. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, the kind that probably cost more than our mortgage payment. Her hair was styled in an elaborate updo, and she was laughing at something Victor Carraway was whispering in her ear. Victor looked exactly like his website photo, if his website photo had been taken by someone who specialized in making middle-aged men look like movie stars. Silver hair, perfectly styled, expensive suit that fit like it was made for him, which it probably was. He had his hand on the small of Serena's back, fingers splayed possessively. I grabbed a beer from the bar and found table 12. It was in the back near the kitchen doors. The other seats were occupied by junior staff and their spouses, people who looked as out of place as I felt. "You must be Logan," said the woman next to me. She was maybe 30, blonde, wearing a dress from Target that she'd tried to dress up with department store jewelry. "I'm Kelly from accounting. Serena talks about you all the time." "Does she now? All good things, I hope." Kelly's smile faltered a little. "Of course. She's so lucky to have such a supportive husband, understanding about all the long hours and business trips." Business trips? That was new information. Well, you know how it is in marketing. Victor really depends on his senior staff. "Oh, absolutely. He and Serena make such a great team. They're practically joined at the hip these days." I took a long pull of my beer and watched my wife laugh at another one of Victor's jokes. They weren't even trying to hide it. His hand moved from her back to her hip, and she leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Excuse me," I said to Kelly, and headed for the bar. The bartender was a college kid with hipster glasses and the kind of carefully groomed beard that took more maintenance than my wife's hair. "Another beer? Make it a whiskey. Double." As he poured, I heard familiar laughter behind me. Serena's friends from work, Tara and Christy, were holding court near the silent auction table. "I'm just saying," Tara was saying, loud enough to be heard over the jazz quartet, "if I had Victor's stamina, I'd never leave the office either." Christy giggled. "Poor Logan probably thinks she's actually working all those late nights." "Honey, the only thing Serena's been working is Victor's." "Ladies." I turned around with my whiskey in hand and my best fake smile. "Mind if I join the conversation?" Tara went pale. Christy looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. They'd met me at barbecues and birthday parties, had eaten my cooking and drunk my beer, and now they were standing here making jokes about my marriage. "Logan!" Tara recovered first, her voice too bright. "What a surprise! Serena didn't mention you were coming. Last-minute decision. You know how much I love corporate parties." We were talking about work stress," Christy stammered. "Yeah, I heard. Sounds like Serena's been under a lot of pressure lately. All those late nights, business trips. Victor really keeps her busy." The two women exchanged glances. Tara cleared her throat. "Well, you know how demanding he can be. But Serena's such a professional, she always rises to the occasion." "I bet she does." The jazz quartet finished their set, and Victor took the microphone. He thanked everyone for coming, talked about the charity they were supporting, made jokes about quarterly earnings that got polite laughter from the crowd. "Before we continue," he said, his voice carrying easily through the ballroom, "I'd like to thank my incredible team for making this year our best yet, especially my senior coordinators, who've gone above and beyond the call of duty." His eyes found Serena in the crowd. She smiled and raised her champagne glass. "To excellence," Victor said, raising his own glass, "and to the people who make it possible." The crowd toasted. I drained my whiskey and headed for the men's room. The bathroom was all marble and gold fixtures, the kind of place where they probably had an attendant to hand you towels. I was washing my hands when Victor walked in. He didn't notice me at first, too busy checking his reflection in the mirror. Up close, I could see the work he'd had done. Subtle stuff, but when you've spent 15 years looking at people's faces while you fix their houses, you learn to spot the tells. Hair transplant, probably some Botox around the eyes, definitely veneers on the teeth. "Great party," I said. He turned, and I saw the moment he recognized me. His smile didn't waver, but something shifted behind his eyes. "Logan Hayes, right? Serena's husband?" "That's right, we've never been formally introduced." He extended a manicured hand. His grip was firm, practiced, the handshake of a man who'd closed 1,000 deals. "Victor Carraway, Serena's told me so much about you." Funny, she doesn't talk much about work at home. Keeps her professional life separate, you know? Smart woman. It's important to maintain boundaries. We stood there for a moment, two men in expensive suits pretending to make small talk while we sized each other up. He was taller than me by maybe 2 inches, broader in the shoulders but soft around the middle. The kind of soft that comes from too many business lunches and not enough real work. She's been putting in a lot of hours lately, I said. All those late nights, the business trips. I hardly see her anymore. Victor's smile got a little sharper. The marketing business is demanding, but I think Serena finds the work satisfying. I'm sure she does. You're lucky to have such a dedicated employee. Oh, Serena is more than an employee. She's an integral part of our operation. I don't know what I'd do without her. The words hung in the air between us, loaded with meaning. He was telling me he was sleeping with my wife, and he was enjoying it. Well, I said, I'm sure you'll figure something out when she's not available anymore. His eyebrows went up. Is Serena planning to leave us? People's priorities change. Family becomes more important. You understand? Victor straightened his tie and checked his reflection one more time. When he looked at me again, the pretense was gone. Logan, let me give you some advice. Man to man. Sometimes it's better to accept reality than to fight it. Serena's happy where she is. She's found something that fulfills her, something that challenges her in ways she's never been challenged before. Is that what you call it? I call it progress, evolution. Your wife is a remarkable woman who was wasting her potential in a life that was too small for her. The bathroom door opened, and another man walked in. Victor's mask slipped back into place. Enjoy the rest of the party, Logan. And don't worry about Serena getting home too late. I'll make sure she's well taken care of. He walked out, leaving me standing there with my hands clenched into fists and my heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. I stayed in the bathroom for another 5 minutes, splashing cold water on my face and trying to calm down. When I finally went back to the ballroom, the dancing had started. Victor and Serena were on the floor, moving together like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Her head was on his shoulder. His hand was lower on her back than any boss's hand had a right to be. They looked like a couple. They looked happy. I finished my second whiskey and headed for the exit. At the coat check, I ran into Jessica Caraway, Victor's daughter. I recognized her from the family photos on his office website. She was young, maybe 22, with her father's dark hair and her mother's sharp cheekbones. But where Victor was all polish and charm, Jessica looked angry. She was standing alone, checking her phone, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my truck. Leaving already? She asked when she saw me getting my coat. Not much of a party person. Me neither. But Dad insists on family appearances. She looked out at the dance floor, where Victor was spinning Serena in a move that brought her body flush against his. That's your wife, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sorry. For what? Jessica looked at me for a long moment, like she was deciding whether to say something. My father thinks he's untouchable. Always has. He's never faced consequences for anything in his life. What are you telling me? I'm telling you that some people deserve what's coming to them. She handed me a business card. It had her name and a phone number, nothing else. If you ever want to talk, she said, about my father or anything else. Then she walked away, leaving me standing there with her card in my hand and a dozen new questions in my head. I drove home through the empty streets, past the closed shops and dark windows of a city that was asleep while my world fell apart. Max was at his friend's house, so the house was empty and quiet. I sat in my kitchen with a beer and Jessica Caraway's business card, thinking about Victor's words in the bathroom, about the way Serena had looked at him, about 20 years of marriage and whether any of it had been real. My phone buzzed with a text from Serena. Don't wait up, after party at Victor's house. Team building, at midnight on a Friday. I typed back, have fun. Then I opened my laptop and started researching Victor Caraway. His business, his finances, his family, his history, everything I could find. If he wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my workshop with a pot of coffee and my laptop, diving deep into Victor Caraway's life. By sunrise, I had a clearer picture of the man who was sleeping with my wife. Caraway Marketing Solutions had been around for 12 years, built from the ground up after Victor left his previous job at a larger firm under what the business journals called unclear circumstances. The company had grown steadily, landing bigger clients each year, but there were some interesting gaps in the timeline. 3 years ago, Victor had taken a 6-month sabbatical to deal with what his company's press release called personal matters. Around the same time, there had been a lawsuit filed by a former female employee that was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. I made notes. Patterns. Victor Caraway had a history of problems with women who worked for him. and he had enough money to make those problems disappear. My phone rang at 8 a.m. Max calling from Tyler's house. Dad, you sound tired. Didn't sleep much. How was your night? Good. Tyler's mom made pancakes. You want me to come home? Not yet, buddy. I've got some things to figure out. About Mom? The kid was too smart for his own good. Yeah, about Mom. Dad, whatever you're planning, don't do anything stupid, okay? Define stupid. You know what I mean? Don't go all Liam Neeson on anybody. That made me laugh despite everything. No kidnapping, got it. I'm serious. We need you not in jail. I'll be careful, Max. I promise. After I hung up, I called Tyrone. Logan? Jesus, man, it's 8 in the morning on a Saturday. I need a favor, Ty. A big one. What kind of favor? The kind that involves your old contacts at the police department. There was a pause. You want to tell me what this is about? Serena's having an affair with her boss, guy named Victor Carraway. I need to know if he's got any skeletons in his closet. Crap, Logan, I'm sorry, man. Don't be sorry. Help me. What exactly are you looking for? Anything. Arrests, complaints, lawsuits. This guy's got money and power, but everybody's got something they want to hide. Give me a few hours. I'll make some calls. Serena came home at 10 a.m., looking like she'd slept in her clothes, which she probably had. Her makeup was smudged, her hair was a mess, and she was carrying her heels in her hand. Morning, I said from the kitchen table, where I was reading the newspaper and pretending everything was normal. Morning. She didn't look at me. I'm going to shower. How was the after party? She paused at the bottom of the stairs. Fine, just work stuff. Must have been some important work stuff to keep you out all night. Logan, I'm tired. Can we not do this right now? Do what? I'm just asking about your evening. She turned around and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilt or shame, but irritation. Like I was an inconvenience. If you must know, we were discussing the Henderson account. It's a big deal for the company, and Victor wanted to go over the strategy. Until 10 in the morning, we fell asleep in the conference room. It happens when you're working on something important. The lie came so easily. No hesitation, no stumbling over words. She'd probably been practicing. Right, the conference room? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Serena. Go take your shower. She went upstairs and I heard the water running. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica Carraway. Coffee? I think we should talk. I texted back. Where? Riverside Diner, 1 hour. The Riverside Diner was a greasy spoon on the wrong side of town, the kind of place where Victor Carraway would never be caught dead. Jessica was already there when I arrived, sitting in a back booth with a cup of coffee and a plate of untouched eggs. She looked different in daylight. Younger, more vulnerable. The angry confidence from the night before had been replaced by something that looked like exhaustion. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat down. Thanks for the invitation. Not every day I get mysterious offers from the boss's daughter. My father doesn't know I'm here. I figured. The waitress brought me coffee without being asked. Small-town diners were good that way. I saw what happened last night, Jessica said. At the party, the way Dad was with your wife. Yeah, well, apparently it's been going on for a while. It has. I've known for months. That surprised me. You knew? Dad's not as subtle as he thinks he is. Plus, I still live at home when I'm not at school. I hear things. Phone calls, late-night meetings, excuses to Mom about why he's not coming home. Why are you telling me this? Jessica stirred her coffee and stared out the window at the parking lot. Because I'm tired of watching him destroy people. Your wife isn't the first, Logan. There have been others. Employees, clients, women who thought they meant something to him. What happened to them? Fired, blacklisted, paid off. Whatever it took to keep them quiet. But not Serena. Serena's different. She's not some young assistant he can intimidate. She's got tenure at the company, friends, a reputation. She's useful to him in ways the others weren't. I thought about that. Serena had worked her way up at Carraway Marketing, earned respect, built relationships. She wasn't disposable like Victor's previous conquests. So what's your angle? I asked. Why help me? Jessica's laugh was bitter. You want the truth? I hate him. I've hated him since I was old enough to understand what kind of man he really is. He's your father. He's a predator who happens to share my DNA. Do you know what it's like growing up with a man who thinks he owns every woman he meets? Who treats your mother like a trophy and your female friends like potential conquests? I was starting to understand why Jessica had been standing alone at the party. My mom knows, she continued. She's always known. But she's got too much invested in the marriage to leave. The house, the social status, the country club membership. She'd rather pretend everything's fine than admit she's married to a serial cheater. So you want revenge? I want justice. There's a difference. My phone rang. Tyrone. Excuse me, I told Jessica, and answered. Logan, I've got some interesting news about your boy, Victor. Hold on. I stepped outside the diner. What did you find? 3 complaints filed against him over the past 5 years. Improper behavior, hostile work environment, inappropriate conduct, all withdrawn before they went anywhere official. Paid off? Looks like it. But here's the interesting part. One of the complainants, a woman named Rachel Morrison, she's got a friend who's still willing to talk. Turns out Victor's got a pattern. He targets married women, employees who can't afford to lose their jobs. Makes them feel special, like they're partners instead of victims. Where's Rachel now? Moved to Phoenix 2 years ago. But Logan, there's something else. I ran Victor's financials through a buddy at the IRS. Nothing illegal, but he's leveraged to the hilt. Big house, expensive cars, country club dues. He's living way beyond his means. How far beyond? Far enough that if his business took a hit, he'd be in serious trouble. I thought about that. Victor Carraway, the successful businessman, was actually walking a financial tightrope. Thanks, Ty. I owe you. Just be careful, man. Guys like this, when they get cornered, they get dangerous. I went back inside. Jessica was still staring out the window. Everything okay? She asked. Getting better. Tell me something, Jessica. How much do you know about your father's business? More than he thinks. I've been helping with the books since high school. Dad always said it was good experience for my business degree. So you know about the financial situation? Her smile was sharp. You mean the fact that Carraway Marketing is about 6 months away from bankruptcy? Yeah, I know. He's been hiding it? From everyone except the accountant and me. Dad's been robbing Peter to pay Paul for 2 years now. The only thing keeping the company afloat is a couple of big contracts that are up for renewal next month. What happens if those contracts don't get renewed? Game over. Dad loses everything. The business, the house, probably Mom too once she realizes there's no money left. I sat back in the booth and thought about Victor Carraway's arrogance, his confidence, his casual cruelty in the hotel bathroom. The man was drowning and trying to take my wife down with him. Jessica, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Are you willing to help me destroy your father? She didn't hesitate. What do you need? The plan took shape over the next week. Jessica turned out to be more than just an angry daughter. She was smart, methodical, and had access to information that would have taken me months to gather. She started by copying files from Victor's home office, financial records, client contracts, email correspondence, everything that painted a picture of a man whose public success was built on private desperation. He keeps everything in a safe behind the Monet in his study, she told me during one of our coffee meetings. Dad thinks he's so clever, but the combination is Mom's birthday. Classic middle-aged man move. The pathetic thing is, Mom would probably be flattered if she knew. While Jessica gathered intelligence, I started my own campaign. Nothing illegal, nothing that could be traced back to me directly. Just a series of small actions designed to make Victor's life more complicated. It started with the golf course. Victor played every Wednesday morning at Riverside Country Club with the same group of business associates. I knew this because Serena had mentioned it dozens of times over the years, usually when she was complaining about having to work late to cover for his golf games. I called the pro shop on Tuesday afternoon. Riverside Country Club, this is Mike. Hi, this is Victor Carraway's assistant. Mr. Carraway wanted me to call and cancel his standing Wednesday tea time for the next few weeks. He's dealing with some personal issues. Oh, sure. Everything okay with Mr. Carraway? Just some family stuff. You know how it is. Absolutely. I'll take care of it. Wednesday morning, Victor showed up to find his regular foursome had been reassigned to other players. Small thing, but it threw off his routine and pissed off his golf buddies. Next, I targeted his favorite restaurant. Victor took clients to Chez Laurent every Friday for lunch. Expensive French place downtown where the waiters wore bow ties and the wine list started at $50 a bottle. I called Thursday afternoon. Chez Laurent, this is Marie. Hi, I'm calling for Victor Carraway. He has a standing reservation for tomorrow at noon, but he needs to cancel. He's had a family emergency. Oh, no. Is everything all right? His daughter was in an accident. Nothing serious, but you know how it is. Of course. Please give Mr. Carraway our best wishes. Friday at noon, Victor showed up with 3 important clients to find his table had been given away and no record of his reservation. The restaurant was booked solid, and he had to take his clients to a chain steakhouse in the mall. Small victories, but they added up. Victor's carefully orchestrated life was developing cracks, and he didn't know why. Meanwhile, Serena was getting bolder. She'd started staying out 2 nights a week, sometimes 3. Her excuses were getting lazier. Client dinner, team building exercise, strategy session. She'd also started dressing differently. Younger clothes, shorter skirts, lower necklines. She was trying to compete with women half her age, and it was working. Victor was clearly infatuated. The breakthrough came on a Thursday night. Serena was at another client dinner, and Max was at basketball practice. I was in the garage working on a cabinet when my phone rang. "Logan, it's Jessica. You need to get down here right now." "Where's here?" "The Meridian Hotel bar. Dad and your wife are here with the Henderson Group. The big clients I told you about." The Henderson Group. The contract that was keeping Caraway Marketing afloat. "What's happening?" "Dad's drunk. Really drunk. And he's being inappropriate with Serena in front of the clients. I think he's about to blow the deal." I was in my truck and driving downtown before she finished talking. The Meridian Hotel bar was exactly what you'd expect from a 4-star hotel. Dark wood, leather chairs, and drinks that cost more than most people's hourly wage. I spotted Jessica immediately. She was sitting alone at the bar, nursing a martini and watching the train wreck at table 6. Victor was indeed drunk, red-faced, loud, gesturing wildly with a tumbler of what looked like whiskey. Serena was sitting next to him, looking uncomfortable but trying to maintain her professional smile. Across from them sat 3 people in expensive suits who looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. The Henderson Group executives, watching their potential business partner make a fool of himself. "How long has this been going on?" I asked Jessica. "About an hour. Dad started drinking before they got here, and it's just gotten worse. Watch this." As I watched, Victor put his hand on Serena's thigh, high enough that everyone at the table could see. She tried to move away, but he tightened his grip and leaned in to whisper something in her ear that made her face go red. One of the Henderson executives, a woman in her 50s, looked disgusted. She said something to her colleagues, and they started gathering their things. "They're leaving," Jessica said. "Dad just lost a $2 million contract because he can't keep his hands to himself." The Henderson Group stood up, shook hands perfunctorily with Serena, and walked out without acknowledging Victor at all. He was too drunk to realize what had just happened. "This is perfect," I said. "Perfect? Dad just destroyed his company." "Exactly. Now he's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes." I watched Serena help Victor to his feet. He was swaying, mumbling something about ungrateful clients and missed opportunities. She looked around the bar, embarrassed, hoping no one was watching. Our eyes met across the room. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married 20 years ago, vulnerable, uncertain, in over her head. Then Victor grabbed her waist, and the moment was gone. They left together, Victor leaning heavily on Serena as they made their way to the elevator, probably going upstairs to their usual room, where Victor would pass out and Serena would lie awake, wondering how her life had gotten so complicated. "What now?" Jessica asked. "Now we wait. Your father just lost his biggest client, which means he's got maybe a month before the whole house of cards comes down. When that happens, he's going to look for someone to blame." "And you think he'll blame your wife?" "I think he'll blame everyone except himself. But Serena's the easiest target. She was there when he lost the Henderson contract. She's been his partner in this whole affair. When the business collapses, she'll be collateral damage." Jessica finished her martini and signaled for another one. "You know, Logan, I'm starting to think you're more devious than my father. Your father's a predator who thinks he's untouchable. I'm just a contractor who pays attention to details. What's the difference?" "The difference is I'm not doing this for fun." My phone buzzed with a text from Serena. "Working very late tonight. Don't wait up." I showed it to Jessica. Working late at midnight with a drunk boss who just lost his biggest client. Dad's probably unconscious by now. Which means Serena's sitting alone in a hotel room, wondering what the heck she's gotten herself into. I thought about calling her, offering to come pick her up, take her home, pretend this whole thing never happened. For a moment, I almost did it. Then I remembered Victor's words in the bathroom. Sometimes it's better to accept reality than to fight it. "Jessica, I need you to do something for me." What? Tomorrow morning, I want you to call your father's biggest remaining clients. Tell them you're concerned about his drinking, his erratic behavior, his inappropriate relationship with an employee. That's my father's business you're talking about destroying. Your father's business is already destroyed. I'm just accelerating the timeline. She was quiet for a long moment, staring into her martini. You know what the worst part is? She finally said. Part of me still loves him. He's a terrible person, but he's my dad. When I was little, he was my hero. What changed? I grew up, started seeing him the way other people see him, started understanding what he was doing to Mom, to his employees, to every woman who made the mistake of trusting him. You don't have to do this, Jessica. I can find another way. No. She drained her martini and stood up. He's had this coming for a long time. I just never had the courage to pull the trigger myself. She left cash on the bar and headed for the door. At the last second, she turned back. Logan? When this is all over, what happens to your wife? I don't know. That's up to her. And if she chooses him over you, then she'll find out what it's like to be with a man who has nothing left to lose. I drove home through empty streets, thinking about choices and consequences, about 20 years of marriage and whether any of it could be salvaged. The house was dark and quiet. Max was asleep and Serena's side of the bed was empty. I sat in the kitchen with a beer and waited for my phone to ring. It never did. Friday morning brought the first domino falling. Jessica called at 7 a.m. It's done, she said. I called Henderson Group, Michaels and Associates, and Portland Industries. Told them I was worried about Dad's stability, his drinking, his inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. How'd they take it? Henderson was very interested. Apparently, Dad's behavior last night was the final straw. They're pulling their contract and going with a competitor. What about the others? Michaels is reassessing their relationship with Caraway Marketing. Portland wants a meeting with Dad next week to discuss concerns about leadership and company culture. I felt a grim satisfaction. Victor Caraway was about to learn what it felt like to watch his world collapse. There's something else, Jessica continued. I may have mentioned that Dad's been using company funds for personal expenses. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, gifts for his girlfriend. Is that true? Probably. I haven't gone through all the books yet, but Dad's never been careful about separating business and personal expenses. That could be a problem for him. That could be a federal crime for him. After I hung up, I called Tyrone. Logan, please tell me you're not doing anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that gets you arrested, divorced, or beaten up by a rich guy's security team. I'm just helping Victor Caraway face the consequences of his actions. That's what I was afraid of. What do you need? I need you to make a call to the IRS fraud hotline. Anonymous tip about a business owner who's been mixing personal and professional expenses. Jesus, Logan. Victor Caraway, Caraway Marketing Solutions. Tell them to look at hotel receipts, restaurant bills, gifts purchased with company credit cards. You know what you're asking me to do? I'm asking you to report suspected tax fraud to the appropriate authorities. And if they find something, then Victor Caraway goes to prison, loses his business, and my wife learns what happens when you bet on the wrong horse. Tyrone was quiet for a long moment. This guy really got under your skin, didn't he? This guy destroyed my marriage and thinks he's untouchable. I'm just proving him wrong. All right, but Logan, when this is over, you and me are going to have a long talk about proportional response. Fair enough. I spent the morning working on a kitchen renovation in Riverside Heights, 3 blocks from Victor's house. Rich neighborhood. Big houses with perfect lawns and 3-car garages. The kind of place where people pretended their lives were as flawless as their landscaping. At lunch, I drove past Victor's house. The BMW was in the driveway, along with Serena's Honda. Having a midday meeting, apparently. I parked down the street and called the house phone. Hello? Serena's voice, slightly breathless. Hi, honey, just wanted to let you know I'll be working late tonight. Big job in Riverside Heights. Oh, okay, I'm at a client meeting. At Victor's house? Silence. Logan, how did you... I'm 3 blocks away, Serena. I can see your car in his driveway. More silence. Then, we needed privacy to discuss the Henderson situation. Right. Privacy. Is that what we're calling it now? Logan, please, not over the phone. When then? When are we going to talk about what's really happening here? I don't know what you mean. I mean your affair with Victor Caraway. I mean the hotel rooms, the business trips, the late nights that have nothing to do with work. I heard her take a shaky breath. We'll talk when you get home, she said finally. Will we, or will you be working late again? She hung up. I sat in my truck for a few minutes staring at Victor's house, big colonial with white columns and a circular driveway. Swimming pool in the back, 3-car garage, probably cost more than I'd make in 10 years. This was the life Serena wanted, the life she thought she deserved. My phone rang. Unknown number. Logan Hayes? Speaking. This is Detective Martinez with the Metro Police Fraud Division. I understand you might have information about financial irregularities at Caraway Marketing Solutions? I smiled. Tyrone worked fast. I might. What kind of information are you looking for? The kind that involves misuse of corporate funds for personal expenses. We've received a complaint, and we're conducting a preliminary investigation. What do you need from me? Are you familiar with Victor Caraway's business practices? My wife works for him. I've observed some questionable behavior. Would you be willing to come in and make a statement? Absolutely. We set up a meeting for Monday morning. By the time I hung up, I was feeling better than I had in weeks. Victor Caraway thought he was untouchable. He was about to learn otherwise. I drove home and found Max in the kitchen making a sandwich. Hey, Dad, how was work? Productive. Where's your mother? Still at her client meeting, I guess. She called and said she'd be home late. She say anything else? Max gave me a look that was too knowing for a 15-year-old. She sounded upset, like she'd been crying. Did she now? Dad, what's going on? And don't tell me nothing because I'm not stupid. I sat down across from him and tried to figure out how much truth a kid could handle. Your mother's been having an affair with her boss. I found out and now I'm doing something about it. Max nodded like he'd expected that answer. What kind of something? The legal kind. The kind that makes sure actions have consequences. Good. I was getting tired of pretending everything was normal. You knew? Dad, she's been gone 4 nights a week for months. She comes home smelling like cologne and makes up stories about client dinners. Either she's having an affair or she's the world's worst spy. Despite everything, that made me laugh. So what happens now? Max asked. Now we wait and see what choices your mother makes. What if she chooses him? Then she'll have to live with the consequences of that choice. And us, we'll be fine, buddy. We've got each other. Serena came home at 10 p.m., looking like she'd been through a war. Her eyes were red, her makeup was smudged, and she was carrying herself like someone who'd just received very bad news. We need to talk, she said. Yeah, we do. Max disappeared upstairs without being asked. Smart kid. Serena sat down across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals, helped Max with homework, planned family vacations back when we were still a family. Victor's business is in trouble, she said. I know. The Henderson contract fell through. There might be other problems. I know about those, too. She looked at me with something like surprise. How could you possibly know about Victor's business problems? Because I've been paying attention, Serena. Because while you were playing house with your boss, I was learning everything I could about the man who was destroying my marriage. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been sleeping with Victor Caraway for months. You've been lying to me, lying to Max, lying to yourself about what this really is. She flinched at the language, but she didn't deny it. It just happened, Logan. We were working together, spending time together, and it just developed. It developed because you let it develop, because you made choices. You don't understand the pressure I've been under, the expectations, the responsibility. Victor made me feel important, valued. And I didn't. You made me feel safe, comfortable. But Victor made me feel alive. And now? How do you feel now that Victor's business is collapsing and he's got bigger problems than keeping you entertained? Her face went pale. What do you mean? I mean, Victor Caraway is about to lose everything, his business, his house, possibly his freedom. When that happens, where do you think that leaves you? You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Tell me, Serena, what did Victor say when the Henderson Group walked out? What did he say when his other clients started asking questions? Did he blame himself, or did he find someone else to blame? The expression on her face told me everything I needed to know. He blamed you, didn't he? Said it was your fault somehow, that you distracted him, or gave him bad advice, or weren't supportive enough. He was upset. People say things when they're upset. People like Victor don't take responsibility for their failures. They find scapegoats. And you, my dear wife, are about to become his scapegoat. She was crying now, tears running down her cheeks and dripping onto the table. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. And now you have to decide what you're going to do about it. What do you mean? I mean, you have a choice to make, Serena. You can come home, end this thing with Victor, and we can try to rebuild our marriage. Or you can stick with him and see where that road leads. And if I choose to come home, then we go to counseling. We work on our problems. We try to give Max a stable family. And if I don't, I stood up and walked to the window looking out at the dark street. Then you'll find out what it's like to be with a man who has nothing left to lose. Monday morning brought the reckoning I'd been orchestrating for weeks. I was sitting in Detective Martinez's office at 9 a.m., signing a formal statement about Victor Carraway's business practices. "This is very helpful, Mr. Hayes," Martinez said, reviewing my statement. "We've already subpoenaed Carraway Marketing's financial records. If what you're telling us is accurate, Mr. Carraway could be looking at serious federal charges." "How serious?" "Tax evasion, wire fraud, misappropriation of corporate funds. We're talking 5 to 10 years if he's convicted." I thought about Victor's arrogance, his casual cruelty, his assumption that he was untouchable. Prison would be a harsh education for a man like that. "There's something else," I said. "Victor Carraway has a history of inappropriate relationships with female employees. My wife isn't the first." "Do you have evidence of that?" "I have names, women who filed complaints that were settled out of court." Martinez made notes. "We'll look into it. Workplace misconduct often involves financial improprieties, hush money, settlements paid with corporate funds. What happens next? We execute search warrants, seize records, interview employees. Mr. Carraway will probably be arrested within the week." I left the police station feeling like I'd lit a fuse on a very large bomb. Victor Carraway's world was about to explode, and Serena was standing right next to him when it happened. My phone rang as I was driving home. Jessica. "Logan, something's wrong. Dad didn't come home last night, and Mom's freaking out." "Where is he?" "I think he's at the office. His car's in the parking lot, but he's not answering his phone. Maybe he's sleeping it off." "That's what I'm afraid of. Dad's been drinking heavily since the Henderson thing. I'm worried he might do something stupid." I thought about that. Victor Carraway, facing financial ruin and federal charges, drunk and desperate. That was a dangerous combination. "I'll meet you at the office," I said. Carraway Marketing Solutions occupied the top 3 floors of a downtown office building, expensive real estate that Victor probably couldn't afford even before his business started collapsing. Jessica met me in the lobby. She looked scared. "The security guard let me up an hour ago. Dad's in his office, but the door's locked and he won't answer." We took the elevator to the top floor. The Carraway marketing offices were all glass and chrome, designed to impress clients and intimidate competitors. Victor's corner office had floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the river. I could see him through the glass wall. He was slumped over his desk, an empty bottle of whiskey next to his computer. "Is he—" Jessica started to ask. "He's breathing, but he's in bad shape." I tried the door, locked, like Jessica had said. "Do you have a key?" "Dad's the only one with a key to his office." I looked around the office suite. Standard corporate layout, drop ceiling, modular furniture. "Stand back," I said. I kicked the door just below the handle. It took 3 tries, but the lock finally gave way and the door swung open. Victor was alive, but barely conscious. He reeked of alcohol and vomit, and there were papers scattered across his desk. Financial statements, legal documents, what looked like a resignation letter. "Dad!" Jessica shook his shoulder. "Dad, wake up!" Victor's eyes opened slowly. It took him a moment to focus on his daughter's face. "Jess, what are you doing here?" "I was worried about you. You didn't come home." Victor tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. He put his head in his hands and groaned. "Everything's messed up, Jess. The business, the house, everything. Dad, you need help. Let me call Mom." "No." Victor's voice was sharp despite his condition. "Don't call your mother. She doesn't need to see this." That's when he noticed me standing in the doorway. "What the heck are you doing here?" "Jessica was worried about you." Victor tried to stand up and had to grab the desk for support. "This is your fault," he said, pointing an unsteady finger at me. "You did this somehow." "I didn't do anything, Victor. You destroyed your own business." Bees. The Henderson contract, the other clients pulling out, the IRS investigation, that's not coincidence. "IRS investigation?" Jessica looked at me with wide eyes. "Your father's been using company money for personal expenses," I said. "Hotels, restaurants, gifts for his girlfriend. The government tends to frown on that sort of thing." Victor lurched toward me, but his coordination was shot. He stumbled and had to catch himself on the corner of his desk. "You son of a witch! You set me up." "I didn't set you up, Victor. I just made sure your actions had consequences." "Dad, what's he talking about?" Jessica asked. Victor laughed, a bitter sound that turned into a cough. "Your new friend Logan here has been systematically destroying my life, haven't you, Logan? Canceling my golf games, my restaurant reservations. Probably called my clients, too. You destroyed your own life when you decided to sleep with my wife. Your wife came to me, you pathetic loser. She was tired of being married to a blue-collar nobody who couldn't give her the life she deserved." "The life she deserved? You mean hotel rooms and lies and being the other woman to a married man?" "I mean respect, success, being treated like the intelligent, beautiful woman she is instead of some contractor's housewife." I stepped closer to Victor, close enough to smell the alcohol and desperation on him. "Where is she now, Victor? Where's Serena while you're drinking yourself unconscious in your office?" She's at home, waiting for me." "No, she's not. She's at home trying to decide whether to stick with a sinking ship or try to salvage what's left of her marriage." Victor's face went red. "She loves me." "She loves what you represented. Money, status, excitement. But that's all gone now, isn't it? The business is finished, the money's gone, and you're about to be a convicted felon." "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about, and so does Serena. She's not stupid, Victor. She can see which way the wind is blowing." Victor swung at me, a clumsy, drunken punch that I easily avoided. He stumbled and fell against his desk, scattering papers onto the floor. "Dad, stop it," Jessica said. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Embarrassing myself?" Victor laughed again. "Honey, I lost the right to dignity about a week ago." That's when we heard voices in the outer office. Multiple people talking in the clipped, professional tones of law enforcement. "Victor Carraway," a man's voice, loud and authoritative. "This is Detective Martinez, Metro Police Fraud Division. We have a warrant to search these premises." Victor went pale. "They're here." "Yeah," I said. "They're here." Detective Martinez appeared in the doorway with two uniformed officers and a woman in a business suit who was probably a federal agent. "Mr. Carraway, you're under arrest for tax evasion and wire fraud." They read him his rights while Jessica cried, and Victor stared at the floor. The federal agent started photographing the documents on his desk while the uniforms cuffed him. "This isn't over," Victor said to me as they led him toward the elevator. "Yeah, it is." After they left, Jessica and I stood in the wreckage of Victor's office. Papers everywhere, empty whiskey bottle, the smell of failure hanging in the air like smoke. "I should hate you," Jessica said finally. "But you don't." "But I don't. He had this coming. What will you do now?" "Finish school. Help Mom figure out what's left after the lawyers get done. Try to rebuild." "And your father?" "My father made his choices. Now he gets to live with them." I drove home through the afternoon traffic, thinking about choices and consequences, about 20 years of marriage and whether any of it had been worth saving. Serena's car was in the driveway when I got home. So was a moving truck. I found her in our bedroom packing clothes into suitcases. She'd been crying, but she looked determined. "Going somewhere?" I asked. "I'm leaving, Logan. I can't do this anymore." "Can't do what? Be married to me? Or be Victor's girlfriend?" "Both. Neither. I don't know." She sat down on the bed, surrounded by half-packed suitcases and 20 years of shared memories. "Victor was arrested today," I said. "I know. Jessica called me." "Did she tell you why?" "Tax evasion, wire fraud, using company money for personal expenses." "Those personal expenses included hotel rooms where he took you, dinners he bought you, gifts he gave you. You were an accessory to federal crimes, Serena." Her face went white. "I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. What happens now?" "Now Victor goes to prison. His business is finished. His assets will be seized. His wife will divorce him. He'll lose everything." "And me?" "That depends. The prosecutors might want to interview you, find out what you knew and when you knew it. If you're lucky, they'll consider you another one of Victor's victims. And if I'm not lucky, then you'll be charged as an accomplice." Serena put her head in her hands and started crying again. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind she'd been using for weeks. "I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now you have to deal with the consequences. I can't go to prison, Logan. I can't." Then you better hope the prosecutors see it that way. She looked up at me with desperate eyes. Help me, please. You're the only one who can help me now. Help you how? Tell them I was a victim, that Victor manipulated me, took advantage of me, that I didn't know about the financial crimes. Is that what happened? I don't know. Maybe. I was so caught up in the excitement, the feeling of being important, that I didn't ask questions I should have asked. I thought about that. About the woman I'd married, the mother of my son, the person who'd shared my bed for 20 years. What about us, Serena? What about our marriage? I don't know if there's anything left to save. There might be, if you're willing to work for it. What would that look like? It would look like you testifying against Victor, telling the prosecutors everything you know about his business practices, his other affairs, his pattern of manipulating female employees. You want me to betray him? I want you to tell the truth. Victor Carraway destroyed our marriage and nearly destroyed you in the process. He deserves whatever he gets. Serena was quiet for a long time, staring at the suitcases on our bed. If I do this, if I testify against Victor, will you help me get through it? I'll stand by you through the legal proceedings. After that, we'll see. And Max? Max loves you. He's disappointed in the choices you've made, but he loves you. What if I go to prison anyway? Then Max and I will visit you every week until you get out. She started crying again, but this time it sounded like relief. I'm sorry, Logan. I'm so sorry for everything. I know you are. Do you think you can ever forgive me? I looked at my wife, really looked at her, for the first time in months. She looked older, worn down by the weight of her choices. But she also looked like the woman I'd fallen in love with 23 years ago. I think forgiveness is something we'll have to work on together. 3 months later, Victor Carraway was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Serena's testimony had been crucial in securing his conviction. The prosecutors had granted her immunity in exchange for her cooperation. Carraway Marketing Solutions was dissolved, its assets seized to pay back taxes and penalties. Patricia Carraway filed for divorce and moved to Florida with whatever money the government hadn't taken. Jessica finished her degree and got a job with a nonprofit in Portland. She sent me a Christmas card that year with a note. Thank you for helping me find my courage. Serena and I went to counseling. It was hard work, rebuilding trust that had been shattered and learning to communicate honestly after months of lies. Some days were better than others. Max adjusted better than I'd expected. He was proud of his mother for doing the right thing in the end, and proud of his father for fighting for their family. You know what I learned from all this? He said one night over dinner. What's that, buddy? Actions have consequences. But people can change if they really want to. I looked at Serena across the table. She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. Yeah, I said, they can. Victor Carraway had thought he was untouchable. He'd learned otherwise. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply making sure that actions have consequences. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, those consequences can lead to something better than what you had before.